Hi there. If you have a card terminal and you're paying a monthly rental charge for it, there are some new regulations from the Payment Systems Regulator, the PSR, that come into effect, have come into effect since the 6th of January this year. It will affect you and also affects all the sellers out there that sell card payment services to small businesses. I just really want to go through a couple of those regulatory changes and inform you, let you know what's going on. So the reason that the regulators stepped in is they wanted to encourage small businesses in the UK to encourage them to switch to get a better deal on their card payment service. This doesn't affect the pay-as-you-go services like SumUp, PayPal and Zettle and Square. It's to do with the contracted services that you have with a traditional or more traditional contracted monthly paid terminal. So the first thing really was to get a better deal for merchants. So what they identified was only 9 to 10% of small businesses actually switch every year, which is quite a low amount. And there's a few reasons why that actually happens. The first thing is it's not very easy to compare pricing out there. Pricing isn't published. It's a bit of a wild west. So if you call up a card payments company, they may give you a very different price in comparison to maybe a week later or a different person that you might speak to. It all depends on the parameters that that salesperson or that operative on the end of the phone is working towards. You can't just view it on a website or price comparison sites because there's lots of constituent parts. There's debit rates, there's card processing, minimum monthly service charges, there's PCI charges, there's all sorts of other fees that go into it. And some providers charge it, some don't. So it's really difficult to have like a one snapshot of the whole market. The second thing is there's no trigger warning that your contract's coming up for renewal. So if you signed a 2 or 3 year deal 2 or 3 years ago, you don't get any notification most of the time. You don't get any notification from the provider to say that your card terminal contract's coming up for renewal, which basically doesn't give you the incentive to then go out to market and have a look for a better deal. So it requires people like me to go in and proactively contact customers and say, look, when was the last time you reviewed your agreement and what's your contract end date? I would say 80–90% of my prospect customers that I speak to have no idea when their contract's coming up for renewal. They can't remember when they signed it. It was a long time ago. It's pushed into the back of the filing cabinet. So it's important that people understand when they're available to come out of contract. The third one is regards to the duration of the contract as well. So what the PSR have said as of January this year, there's a maximum of 18 months in regards to the contract term that any merchant is able to be signed up to, which basically means that long gone are the days now of the 4 and 5 year deals, and also auto renewing contracts are now abolished. So I've had prospects in the past where I've gone to see a customer and they think they're out of contract because they signed it maybe 4 years ago and they signed a 3 year deal, only to work out that their provider has signed them into a new 3 year deal as an auto renewing, which means that they can't now change for another 2 years, which and it keeps them on old rates. So you could argue that is pretty uncompetitive and it doesn't give the customer the choice of moving to get a better deal in the market. So as of now, 18-month contracts are pretty much standard. Trigger messages and price summary comparisons are going to be implemented probably in the next 5 to 6 months. The regulator has given everyone 6 months to do that. And hopefully it encourages people to switch a bit more, which would be good news for us as a payments provider, but also good news for customers because they can get a better deal. They're not tied into uncompetitive contracts for long periods of time. There are some other repercussions in regards to that market, which is more skewed towards the people that sell it in regards to the cost model. But I think generally it's a good deal for merchants and hopefully it encourages more competition and more people switching to get better deals out there.